good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening or watching from in the world. Of course, welcome back to the Turn the Show right here on GBKM FM. Of course, I'm your host, Remain Redmond, and we're going from 3 p.m. until 4 p.m. on towards this number one web-based radio station. Of course, this is where we aim to empower, energize, and of course, uplift your youth, and just to give them that, added energy to pursue their dreams, and of course, help create a new world that they want to live in. Of course, don't forget our platforms to watch us on each week. Or on Facebook at GBKM TV, or you can also get us on Great Many Kingdom Media. You can also get us on YouTube. It's GBKM TV on our website, www.gbkm.fm. You can also get our app that is now available in the App Store and also in the Play Store on your Apple and your Android devices, and take us with you wherever you go in the world. And of course, as we always like for you to do, just join our conversation. Join our conversation on the platforms. And of course, you can get a shout out each week too. So be a part of our conversation each and every week, and definitely stick and stay with the Youth Turned Up Show family. Of course, I want to send a huge shout out to our sponsor, AOF Immigration Canada, who specializes in all your immigration needs, ranging from the Quebec Investor Program, permanent visas, whatever it may be, they have you covered. So, of course, just give them a call or send them an email for your private and your confidential consultation. Their phone number is 416-629-4617. You can also send them an email. It's at info@aofimmigration.com. And just let them know that we sent you, us here at GBKM FM and also at the Youth Turned Up Show. So we'll take our very first break on our show, but we'll be back with so much more. Stick and stay and like and share in the meantime, okay? We'll be right back.
Happy Valentine's Day from GBKM. Happy Valentine's Day from G.
And of course, welcome back to the Turned Up Show right here on GBKM FM. I'm your host, Romain Redman. If you're just joining us, though, you haven't missed anything. We're just going to launch into our second Black History Month episode. And what a celebration it has been this month here on the show and also on GBKM FM. Last week, we were joined by the Honorable Minister of Diversity, Inclusion and Youth, Ms. Bardish Chigger, and also the President of the Ontario Black History Society, Ms. Natasha Henry. But this week, we're taking a different spin on everything. It's the Youth Turned Up Show, and we always like to hear from the youth in and around our community. What is any celebration on the Youth Turned Up Show without having the youth input? And of course, today on the show, we welcome my fellow host here on GBKM FM, Miss Elizabeth Alloy, the host of the Chat Up Show. Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming. And of course, Mr. Courtney Harris, who is definitely promises to give us an enticing and a spirited discussion here on Black History Month 2021. Lady and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me. And I'm so excited for this conversation today. I'm ready.
Thank you for having me as well.
Absolutely. And I must say, Mr. Lloyd, I see everyone is wearing a wrap today on their head, and I have nothing on my head. I guess I'm venturing too far away from my roots, but of course, loving the representation that I have here today, and so excited to get into, of course, today's discussion. But it's Black History Month 2021, and we are celebrating. Elizabeth, Black History Month, what does that ring to you, though, in the grand scheme of celebration? What does that mean to you? What does this celebration mean to you?
Do you know what? I've actually been thinking about that a lot, especially with what we've seen transpire, let's say, over the last year. I think that this Black History Month was not so much about the history that feels so far away, but the history that's being made before our eyes right now. There are so many moments and instances where it was important for folks to take a stand for what they believe in, which essentially boils down to human rights or not, as far as I'm concerned. But I think that this month, especially for me, has just been about recognizing the work that folks are doing right now to really help build and develop a brighter future for the future of Black people across the globe.
I'm just going to kick that same question over to you, Mr. Harris, because from the young gentleman's perspective, what does a Black History Month represent to you 2021?
You know, I actually agree a lot with Elizabeth because yes, we need to honor people who have done so much for our culture, for people that look like us, right? But we have to really honor those right now in this pandemic. My mother's a first responder, so I see her go out every day and come back drained by everything that's happening. And for us to look at them and appreciate the hard work that they have been doing. So I'm commended. But when I look at Black history, I want it to be more than a month. I want it to continue along for the entire year.
Yeah.
You know, we can't just stick to 1 month, but knowing that we have this month to really dive deep and appreciate everything that people that look at us do is really amazing.
And I love the fact that you touched on the whole idea of especially celebrating those this year who have been putting their lives and their services out there, really protecting our community, protecting the world. Because if we look in the service sector, you mentioned the fact that your mom, she is a first responder. How many of those first responders are Black individuals? How many of those persons right now who are ensuring that the world still operates are persons of color? So, of course, recognizing this year that the persons who are keeping us afloat are, in fact, Black individuals. And I love the point that you touched on early too, Elizabeth, talking about just what has happened over 2020, throughout 2020, where Black individuals are standing up, protecting the vote. We have Stacey Abrams in the US. We have the Black Lives Matter movement. We have the NSARS movement, which you had the opportunity of covering on behalf of GBKMFM. So let us touch on that, though. The youth role in ensuring and protecting the future of the world.
I love that. I think that especially now, I mean, I can't speak for youth back in the day because I'm a youth now.
Yes.
I don't know about y'all and the rest of you, but what I'm really appreciating is this thirst almost to learn from the history that we weren't taught in schools. Know the real depth of what it means to know our Black history. You know, Black history isn't just MLK, isn't just Rosa Parks. Like, there's so many other figures who are out there risking their lives every single day. And to see that the youth are still willing to do that now, today as well, going out protesting in the middle of a pandemic where it's really risking your life to say, listen, this is what we believe in. It's been like this for so many generations. Now we're here to say our generation is speaking up and taking action and moving forward. And I think that it's so inspiring to see folks who are like in high school. Like, I remember where I was when I was in high school, and I wasn't thinking about planning protests. And there are these high schoolers going out within in their local communities, you know, spreading the word, speaking out, talking about their experiences, talking about the experiences they've learned, you know, talking about what they're learning on their own outside of the educational system, about their own history, about their worth, about where they come from, their roots. It's powerful. And to get a front stage view of it via social media is amazing as well, because we're seeing and helping others become just as educated.
Wonderful. But also with that comes a responsibility too, right? In us knowing that we are the ones who are really going to have to take the baton from the older generation. We're talking about even our parents and really run with it. We're talking about not just being comfortable in our own skin. We're talking about wearing the clothes. We're talking about embracing the culture, embracing that identity, right, Mr. Harris?
Yes, because when I look at it, I think we get strength in numbers, in unity. Once we can all come together and share the same ideals, share the same thought process of saying, okay, we need to put ourselves out there and share our opinions, share our history, because if we ourselves don't talk about it, who's going to talk about it? You know, and once we take that step, we're always going to be better off.
Absolutely. And yes, go ahead.
Take over. But like, why, in your opinion, do you think that it's taking us so long to develop that unity? When we look at the diaspora of those of African descent, Black people at large, there's still so much, you know, tension that's still there and that's stopping us from really bridging or crossing that bridge and really unifying together. We're fighting the same cause. We're fighting for the same recognition at the end of the day.
Mm.
It seems like, I mean, now I think that, well, actually, I want to hear your opinion. Do you think that now we're seeing that change and we're seeing more of that unity come out? Or do you think that?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe now, out more than any other previous years before, it's been stronger. But I think it leads back to we had. I want to say fear, but I don't think it means like fear, but because we were so fearful of stepping out and thinking that we're going to be judged for speaking out. As we talk about youth, I think this generation is some like vipers. We just say what's on our mind and we just go with it, right? And we've gotten over that boundary to say, okay, it's okay to talk about these things and okay to progress.
Wonderful. And I'd just like to add to that point too, because what I theorize this, the hindrance of us really coming together to really come down to is actually three things. And that's the Black divide, which we have within our Black,
Mm-hmm.
the Black world, is this color scale that we have in the Black world.
Colorism.
Also,
Mm-hmm.
yes, and also the Western scale, right? Where there is this huge Black divide because African Black is different than the Caribbean
Black.
And then if you're Black American or Canadian or Westerner, it's a different kind of Black than the Caribbean. And people used to, and I think even today, we still take pride in differentiating ourselves based upon those divides. Then it's the Black. Then we have the yellow bone. We saw the heat of, what's her name? Took for that one. But like, it is the reality of it because on the color scale, if you are browner, right, and not as dark as someone else, you do have status, you do have standing, right? And when we even look at the Western scale, if you are browner, not African, and let's say American, you have standing over even a brown skin African person, individual.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, because I want to put this out there. But I come from a place, Jamaica, where we can see that divide based on colorism. You know,
Yes.
if you're brown or you're treated in a certain way than someone who's more of a darker skin tone, and it's a problem that I think we all experience because I'm darker. So I think because even my younger sister, she's lighter than me, and when we're in the same era, people more approach her than approach me.
Yeah.
You know, probably because of her personality, she's very likable. And with her being her lighter skin tone, people more gravitate towards her personality. Even though I'm more fun. I think I'm more fun. But
we all think that to be
I all think so.
but how do we essentially bridge these gaps that exist though, that hinder true togetherness in our community, that hinder true progress? Because these divides only serve to hinder progress.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely think that it's just acknowledging it. Do you know how long it takes for people to even acknowledge colorism?
Yeah.
Like that, really, if we think about it, the conversation around colorism didn't really grow to what it is until like recent years. Like, for example, when we started seeing more shade ranges in our beauty industry, more representation, then we're thinking of, okay, what kind of representation? Is it that we're seeing the same kind of Zendaya, Amandla, love them, talented, beautiful girls, Yara, Shahidis, taking all the roles for the Black girls? Or are we trying to see the diversity within Blackness and see that there's, different shades of Black out there, and it comes with its own situations. This is why I started my magazine.
Yeah.
Because I recognized that there was still this missing piece within our industry that showcased dark-skinned beauty and dark-skinned life, just as we are. Like, we're doing things, we're human, we deserve the recognition as well. It's not that you're just getting the recognition because you're dark skinned, because that's another thing that people feel, that it's like, oh, you're only getting this because you're a person of color. And it's like, no, I don't think that's where we want it to get to.
No.
Just that we want it to be somewhat of an equal playing field where the necessary parties will get the due recognition and the due acknowledgement.
And I was listening to someone also mention, talk about Black men. Let's go from there. Black men also in the movie industry, in the modeling industry and all of that. If you're not the Michael B. Jordan type, and you're not the the Denzel Washington type. You don't get roles. You can't be, or the roles that you do get are supporting roles, or the roles that they make fun of you to some extent.
Even the Denzel Washington, the
Washington.
Michael B. Jordans, like they had to go through those roles to get to where they are today. Like we just know them now because they've reached a
They
certain
blew it up. Yeah.
in their career. But when they started, they probably had to go to like tens of thousands of auditions for the drug dealer or the gang member or whatever because of their look, because of what they were perceived as in society. And we're still seeing that till this day. Trust me, I got some scripts that I'm like,
It's still
And
shocking.
I'm sure they had to fight for, as Elizabeth, they had to fight more and more and more than any other person because of the way they look. They weren't think of, because they're great actors, and so they had to fight. Even though they were great, they had to fight more to get where they are.
Exactly. And then that goes back to the whole idea that if you're black, you have to fight 10 times, 20 times as hard as anyone else. But we have also seen in recent, well, not just in recent years, but for a very long time, where those who have made it, essentially, and Oprah has taken criticism for this. We're talking about even those who have already charted paths and done this. Once you get there, you forget everything else. You forget everyone else, and you essentially absolve yourself from the responsibility of essentially recognizing that you got there on the backs of your fellow brothers and sisters, and that there is a responsibility that you have to ensure that when you are there, you essentially leave the door open for others to get in. Look at Lil Wayne, who has essentially removed himself from this whole discussion of equity and justice on the basis that I'm rich, and that's it.
ASAP Rocky.
So
I'm
many
too
out
pretty.
there.
I'm too pretty N-word for this.
Soho, that doesn't bother me. Like that's not part of my life. I'm rich. I'm a rich black man. That's all I am. Like why would you're still a black man? And then he went to Sweden and realized that ASAP Rocky isn't going to do anything for him there, and he got himself arrested. But with that conversation, you hear it with a lot of successful black figures, as you mentioned, Oprah. You know, they were sellouts after they reached a certain level of success because now, you know, money talks. They have seats at the tables that they probably always wanted these seats at, and now it's like, okay, we're here. But at the same time, do you know how many people Oprah helped get post-secondary education, helped get education, period, like black folks?
Yes.
So, I mean, I used to be of this school of thought where I was like, yeah, Oprah seems like this. Like, why is she moving in certain ways?
Yeah.
About it.
But so then, essentially, then you agree that there are different level of activism in terms of representing the community, because what I would essentially have to do, persons who have those seats at the table, we're talking about those who have made it rich and can be in the academy and can have voting shares on the Grammy essentially stage, as opposed to myself here, who just has a talk show.
Just talk show.
Mr. Harris.
Romain, you don't have to downplay. This is amazing. Your talk shows, come on. But when I look at even, I just want to mention Tyler Perry.
Yes.
You know, he's been for the black community basically throughout his entire career.
Mm-hmm.
And still continue to make movies that have been amazing for the black history.
Mm-hmm.
And
I can see the expression, Elizabeth, but I'll come to you in a bit. Go ahead.
I want to hear. I want to hear what Elizabeth said. Because or even Ava. I don't remember to pronounce her last name, but Ava from
Ava DuVernay. DuVernay. Did I get that correct? Elizabeth, you're the movie buff here, and Ava DuVernay. That's correct.
She did the Exonerated 5 on Netflix.
Oh. DuVernay.
DuVernay, yeah.
So there are these talented folks out there trying to represent as much as possible for people of the Black history, and to really, because that's a challenging thing to accomplish, because not a lot of people are going to go out there and take that step or that milestone to really put that into media. You know.
Yes.
I feel like you picked the two people who are some of the problem folks.
Okay, so what are the problems that you have essentially identified?
Mm-hmm.
No, you know what? These aren't just my opinions. I spend a lot of time on social media,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of conversation around particularly these two individuals that we just
Yes.
brought up.
Brought
One,
up.
that Mr. Perry, though he has created such an amazing opportunity for up and coming artists such as himself, at the same time, there are folks who feel like he kind of doesn't
Has
feed himself. That the stories that he's telling isn't always putting Black women in the best position.
best life.
The
Mm-hmm.
wigs that he be putting on his cast.
But then again, Elizabeth, I might challenge you on that school of thought though, because when we look at, let's say we're going back to Tyler Perry, and when we look at the kind of movies that he has produced over the years, does it stray too far from the realities that we live in our Black community? Don't we know a Medea down the street? Don't we know a Cassie that lives 2 blocks up the road? Don't we know that guy,
And
right?
100% can fully vouch for that. But it feels like there's only a particular like character
Storyline. Mm-hmm.
set of characters that we see portrayed often. And you'd hope that from a Black man, you
Yes.
to find characters that have a little more
Dimension.
dimensions. I didn't want to say depth because I feel like even within his work, his characters do have some depth.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing different like levels, you know.
Yeah.
Black women don't always have to suffer. Like we
Can we
There's more to
thrive?
it.
Can they thrive and survive?
Yes.
And then that's again, we go
are
back.
always heartbroken by a man. Like, are you feeling this
I
narrative?
know.
Black women do not like Black men. Like, is that what you're trying to get at here? Like, well, the stories you're creating, I don't blame them. Because first of all, there's one that's cheating and abusing the other one, and there's another story where one is taking advantage of an older woman with his, like it's so many. Like, leave us alone, sir.
But then that comes back to the important part of what our role as young people in any industry that we step in any avenue in society, because we look at the Lena Waithe, and we look at all those young and upcoming directors and writers and producers who are adding those dimensions, right? Who are adding those depths and giving us that variation on the scale in terms of character development.
I'm still mad about Queen and Slim, but I think that we're seeing. Oh my goodness, Malcolm and Marie. I haven't watched it yet, but I've seen a few clips and just reading the reviews of it. It's a different way of storytelling, and it's Black leads. Granted, I don't think it was written by a Black person, but there was a lot of collaboration apparently done on that project. But in your opinion, where do you see like representation going right now in the media that we're consuming with these folks who do have the seats at the table to create the stories that we hopefully want to see?
And I'm going to just let Mr. Harris take that first.
The way I look at it, I want more. You know, I want to see more of us being portrayed. If in every film about a Black individual, there's always some kind of tie on to the Western world or the European era where you have to kind of mix the two or try to. Why can't there be something that's solely about a Black story?
Yeah.
And I think I've seen even on Netflix, you see short films about the Black hair and stuff like that. But we need more representation, more things to really sit back and have a conversation about.
And
Okay.
I would also pivot on that point there too, because even on Netflix, we've seen time and time again where the equity there isn't the same. Because to produce a movie, it costs. If you're going to do a standard movie up to the level or the Hollywood level, these writers, directors, actors, producers all have to be paid at the level that Netflix pays, and that's not what we've seen. We've heard Monique come out about it. We've heard Dave Chappelle come out about it. We've heard Shonda Rhimes come out about it. We've seen so many different artists rejecting proposals being put forward by Netflix for production, right? So we're asking the question then, how can we have stories told in their full authenticity when you're offering a seasoned actress $500,000? When you're offering an Oscar-winning actress $500,000, that is literally a penny on the $100 bill as compared to giving what's her name, Amy Schumer. That's her name, right?
Okay. Yeah.
One so many millions to do one stand-up special, right? And that is where I think we as a community need to really stand in support. And this is why I didn't like when everyone essentially shut down Monique when
Oh,
she came out and said that she was offered $500,000.
No, she. Yeah.
Remember, Monique is an artist who is an actress who has done it. She has an Oscar. An Oscar level artist does not and should never be
Be
offered
downplayed.
$500,000
No.
for any role that they're going to take.
especially when they've been in that field, because it was for her comedy.
Yes,
She been doing comedy, I think, before she
for
started.
over 25 years.
Like
Wow.
arena, like how could, like, it's so disrespectful. And this is why I have an issue with Mr. Tyler Perry, what's his name? And Miss Oprah Winfrey, okay? Because they tried to dog my auntie Monique out. I took it really personally because I listened to the plight of this woman who it's like, I have accomplished this, I've accomplished this, I've accomplished this.
Done so much.
Yeah, the moment that I want to stand up for myself, people who should be backing me up are telling me that I'm being too difficult, and you hear that a lot for Black women, not just within the entertainment industry, across the board. We're too emotional, we're too aggressive, we're too entitled. Black men too, we're too aggressive. Like, it's so many stereotypes that are placed on us that we have to like hold and carry on our shoulders. And when we want to stand up for ourselves, all of a sudden that's too much to ask.
And
Got the crumbs and keep it. That's what I'm getting.
Mr. Harris.
and it's a fact that she knows the game. She knows the game of being an actor. So I hate the fact that she knows how much people are being paid compared to what she's getting. So don't try to limit her creativity to something that's so mediocre.
Absolutely.
You know? And people, I think Black people, we have the idea that we need to create things for our own for in order for us to be successful. And we haven't given a chance to really rely on anybody. And I feel like that's where change comes. People need to accept the fact that we want help and we're willing to give help. You know? So,
and I actually love that you touched on that, because I was just watching a video like 2 days ago where someone asked, why is it that the Black generation, every generation has to start afresh? Why is it that there are not we don't have generational wealth circulating and being passed down? Why don't we have trusts? Why don't we have all that going on? Why is it that every single generation who precedes the other has to start over? And I guess this is also the charge on us as a younger generation too, to really start building those legacies. And when we talk about legacy, we have to ensure that we are secure financially, socially, emotionally. And that's why there's this big uproar even about protecting your mental health.
I hear that. I'm gonna let you go first with a comment.
Oh, I agree. I agree. If we don't allow ourselves to create that legacy and make that legacy continue through our children or grandchildren, because somewhere down the line, someone else is going to swoop in.
Yes.
You know, and we can't allow that to happen. And that's where the legacy changes. Once someone who doesn't have your heart and soul into the project you created in the first place, that's where it falls short. And if we can continue that trend, this is why a lot of white folks have years on top of years, generation on top of generation, because they kept that tradition going. Yeah. We have I've given up. I think we're kind of easy on giving up. So once you break that mindset to continue our livelihood of continue our generations down, son, this is what you're gonna have to do. You tell your son what to do, and your son tells his daughter, or so on, so forth and so on. So yeah.
Mr. Lloyd?
You think that what's really holding us back is that ultimately, as a community, we're still playing up to the Western acceptance.
Okay.
Like, what's stopping us from building generational wealth is because we feel that we can't get into those areas to start developing and building that wealth. But I think that from the people we've even spoken about today, just from hearing their stories about how they continued on without receiving, quote unquote, help to build the success that they have today.
Yes.
Why not rely on just our community? Like, why are we constantly looking outward? And I know that this is to say,
Mm.
it's so easy to sit on a platform and be like, let's not look towards the people who literally hold the key to a lot of the doors that we're hoping to open and move into life and finally get to an equal playing field. It's easy for us to be like, let's just disregard them and do our own thing. It's rough. It's going to be tough, but it's been rough. It's been tough.
Tough. Mm-hmm.
Like,
Wonderful. And I also like that too about really trying to build for ourselves. I always say this, and this is actually one of the things that I'm researching personally, but the hip hop industry, let's start there. Let's just take that one. That's a very thriving economy with
Mm.
significant leakages, which has to be plugged up. And we have to start getting smart within that industry alone. We understand that the hip hop industry is about the bling, the flash, and all this big glamorous living. But at some point, we have to realize that it is an avenue for us to fix so many things that are happening in our communities. When we talk about okay, even right now with COVID-19 and vaccines, right? We see Black doctors, Black nurses trying essentially launch this campaign to say, well, the vaccine is safe. Well, how about we think about creating clinics and hospitals, right, in our community, which staff or Black doctors who understand what the community culture is, right, who understand what treating Black people and the fears that Black people and the Black community has about healthcare, about vaccines, about surgeries, about essentially just taking even medication, right? How about we try to focus on building those facilities and those infrastructure to absorb our own beliefs and our own traditions?
I think
Good. Go ahead, Elizabeth. Go ahead. No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I think that yes, because anytime we hear anything medical, you always hear it followed by, and it's disproportionately affecting the Black community in negative ways.
Yes.
If you think of pregnancy, even COVID, just so many things that are putting our lives at risk. So when we think of why can't we find a way to work around that? Even in medical school, you hear doctors say that, oh, we're not taught certain like skin conditions. We're only taught to look out for certain symptoms on pale skin, not darker skin, which, you know, skin symptoms might manifest differently. You won't know what you're looking out for. Next thing you know, there's a patient that's seriously sick because you didn't know what signs to look out for.
Mm.
Now are seeing more and more Black doctors, Black scientists saying, listen, we recognize that there is a gap here that isn't taking into account different skin tones, different races and how they react to certain things differently, how they get the information as well, because that's also important. Information about the vaccine, information about COVID. How are they receiving this information? Is it in a way that's easily shareable for them? Is it in a way that they can easily understand it to a point that it's not just going to scare folks away and they want to actually take the steps to, you know, make sure that they're taking care of themselves? Because, you know, you hear of all these programs that are like, oh, let's go into lower income communities to try and help educate, but you're not really getting through to anybody because there's a communication barrier. And even though you may live in the same city, it's like you're just talking at people. You're not even taking into consideration if the information is actually being understood, digested properly. And I think that now that we have more professionals coming out, recognizing that, we're hopefully going to see more of that. How did we get here from the hip hop industry? I went on a whole.
Well, that's the spirit of lively conversation.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, we were talking about hip hop for a second.
But of course, on that note, we of course have to take a second break here on the show. And are you saying something, Mr. Lloydie?
I went on.
We just have to take a time signal here. We'll take a very second break here on the show. But of course, while we do that, of course, please like and share, drop those comments to see if we can get a few of those in our telecast. But of course, we take a second break and be right back. Soon come.
GBKM. Happy Valentine's Day from GBKM.
You can officially download our free GBKM app from the App Store and the Google Play Store. Okay, now what is the best thing about this app? Well, it is that you have all of the features from the website that is portable in your hand, ready to use and ready to go. Now I'm just gonna guide you through what we have available on our app right now. So here, this is the page where you can watch our live TV, our GBCam TV. You can watch live, enjoy the shows live. Now, if you go to our tabs, you can check out any shows you missed in the past shows tab, and that takes you to the past shows that have happened in the last week. And if you just scroll down, you can see those past shows in order, chronological order with their dates next to them as well. So if you've missed a show, no worries, just go to the past show tab and you can catch up on your favorite GBKM entertainment. Going back to our menus tab again, you can check out our upcoming shows so you do not miss any past shows. You can check out our breaking news section, which is our newest section as well, to learn of any breaking news within the diaspora, across the globe, all of that good stuff, so you can stay engaged and up to date on what's going on with our breaking news tab on the GBKM app, and also available on the website. And as you can see, there are other tabs there. You can listen to our live radio, our live TV. You can learn more about our on-air personalities by going to our OAP tab, all of that good stuff. You can officially...
Of course, welcome back to You Turn to Show right here on GBK FM. Such a lively discussion we've been having. But what is it? It is the youth. It is our month. We're celebrating Black History Month. And I have here with me some talented black gentleman and a black lady here, who is also my colleague here at GBK FM, Miss Elizabeth Oloidi, and a very good friend of mine, but also Mr. Courtney Harris. We've been talking about the Youth and Black History Month 2021. What does that mean for us as young individuals? What tasks are we assigned? What is the charge going forward? How do we ensure that going forward? Now, of course, we help to eliminate some of these things that have been and some of these issues: anti-black racism, colorism, all that ism, systematic racism that has been keeping our society from progressing. And of course, I want to just send a huge shout out again this month as we celebrate 25 years. Canada, that is, celebrates 25 years of celebrating Black History Month here. Huge shout out to our Black champion, the Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine, who championed this effort in 1995, well, 1993 to 1995, when it officially was passed in the House of Commons. And even right now, she's currently on a mission to obtain her chair in education at the University of, well, York University rather, and we're looking for the community to essentially hop on board. For those who are just joining us, you haven't missed a lot, and of course, even if you have missed some, all our videos are posted to our platforms after we air live, so you can definitely go check that out and get the app. Get the app; it's right there, and you can get that, of course, in the App Store, in the Apple Store, if you're Apple or on Android devices, and we have you covered. Take us with you wherever you go in the world. But we're back with you, Miss Lloyd and Mr. Harris. Before we went on the break, we're talking about the charge that we have and how do we move forward. Let us just take a spin here, because before we can go forward, we still have some things that we have to iron out in our society. And this is actually one that is dear to my heart because I feel strongly about it. So, but I'm just going to put it to you first. Who gets a pass anymore? Do we still give grandma and grandma a pass when they make the racist comments? Do we still say, oh, they're from a different generation? Do we still say, oh, they don't understand this age? Who gets a pass when they do that stuff?
They know.
So just like that.
They know. They know what they say. Like, come on. Like, y'all, like, wait, who's grandma and grandpa? Sorry.
Okay, we're talking about those grandma and grandpas who are, let's start off with the white ones first, the old ladies and the old gentlemen who makes the racist comments at black individual. Do they still get a pass and get to claim it as just being from a different generation? Do our own black grandma and grandpa get a pass when they make racist and sexist comments and all that stuff?
Yeah, you take this one.
Okay. um, with the all right, let me start here. With the white folks being saying the rude racist comments and all of that, no, we're all adults. We understand the impact those slurs and all those things can have on an individual. So there's no way you can have the idea like, oh, because back then it was okay. No, it's never okay to treat someone to that extent. It's okay. It's never okay to say that to someone. And with our black grandmas, it's not okay for them. We're all adults. They're adults. They need to understand like we're in a different time era. That thing has been quits out. We need to just come together, unite. We're all. If you cut yourself, we bleed the same blood, and that's what it comes down to. You know, we just need to unify, come together, and just relax.
Be one.
'Cause there's
Just
be
relax.
one.
Just chill. Just chill. But of course,
Calm
Mr.
down.
Lloyd, you have been itching to get at this one. You've been itching to get at this one since it was posed.
Grandma and grandpa do not get a pass. I do not care if it's Thanksgiving. I do not care if it's Sunday and we are in church and you say something outside, like from the side of your neck. I will call you out. I don't. Yes, we are adults. We know what's right and wrong. Come on. Even back then, like you knew that it was wrong, but it was so exciting today because it was like, yeah, like I have this power over someone, so I'm gonna put them down as much as possible to make myself feel better. Like you knew that wasn't right. And anyone who says, I'm a good Christian and they still do that, like, no, you're not. Read the Bible again, figure it out. And the same goes for like a homophobia as well. The same goes for just any kind of like hatred towards a group of people.
Yes.
First of all, why do you have that so much energy to hate someone else?
It's so overbearing.
Like really like hold that deep in you to like hate someone because of how they look. Like
And I mean, it is a lot. It is really a lot. And as I always say, there's no one living right now who was born in an era when it was legally right for you to enslave someone and do racist stuff. There's absolutely no one living. They would have actually have to be what 200 or 200 and something years old. No one is that old, right? Everyone is aware of what the conversation is. Everyone is aware of the detriment of you being a racist individual, of you being someone who's sexist and misogynistic and xenophobic. We're all aware of the consequences those have. And as a result, as adults, even as children, because we hear children correct adults, we hear babies correct adults saying, don't do that or don't say that, right? So if a toddler can look at an adult and identify that you're doing something wrong, why is it that yourself as an adult can look at yourself and correct yourself when you're doing something wrong?
Absolutely. Because even in our history, we have a problem of homophobia and all these things. And
Yes.
my younger sister, just to give an example, if she can take the look and say, Mom, that's not wrong. These are people, these are living, breathing people. If they want to choose who they want to love, allow them to do that.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
absolutely. Just to take a little spin on that here before we even run out of time here, there's been so much talk about what it is that young people, young black children, all the people that should be learning in school about Black history. This is Black History Month. We get to celebrate once a year, technically, and that is when it is officially incorporated into curriculums and in school associations and all that. But what it is that we should be learning, what it is that the education system should be teaching young people about Black people in effort to help not one overcome the stereotypes, but of course to promote true inclusion and equality.
I feel like what is being taught is not enough, but at the same time, the history of racism is so sinister, and
Gruesome.
it like some evil stuff went on in this history, and to think that you'd want to share that with children, I feel like that should be something that's like later on, you know, you're a little older, you can digest that. Because like even me as an adult reading some of the history, I'm like, thank God they didn't tell me this in school. I would have been having everybody. I feel like that should be something that's like later on. No, because genuinely, like you read that now as an adult and you get angry because you're like, this went on and people are still trying to hide that this went on. Like this is so hard, like ingrained in a lot of our society's histories. A lot of these countries built their wealth, their notoriety off of this like evil stuff that they were doing. But just to round up my point, there's a lot of evil things that went on, but I think that we aren't covering enough of just the basic foundation. Like, we don't need to get deep into like the scary stuff, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
foundation and understanding of like what the transatlantic slave trade was, what colonialism was, how that impacted the various areas of the world, how till this day we're still seeing the effects of colonialism, we're still seeing the effects of the transatlantic slave trade, knowing that, you know, there were slaves that were taken to South America and what happened there, that there were a lot of Latin countries that did not want Black people to be in their country. So they would ship them off to essentially ghettos that they did during World War II and leave them there disease ridden. They would send their disease population there to essentially kill off the Black populations within these countries. There's so much that we still don't know that I think it's important to recognize, because they say when you know your history, you won't repeat it.
Yeah.
We have been repeating history because clearly we haven't learned enough of it. We don't know how deep it goes.
Is it that we haven't learned or they just don't care?
I don't think we've learned enough of it to actually be like, I think now we're finally starting to see like the thirst for more knowledge and understanding of the history.
Yes.
To really get why there's so many people who till this day do not want to be associated with quote unquote colonizers at all. So I think, yes, part of it is not caring because it's like, that's history. It happened before.
In the past.
Part of it is like, it's just not like, why does it feel so hidden? Like, why isn't it so like out in the open? Like, let's all talk about it like this.
Well, Mr. Harris, what do you wish that you would have learned in school? What do you want young people coming up behind you, your children, your friends' children to learn in school, in the education, or through the education system, rather, about Black history? And we're talking about not just the gruesome part, as you said, Elizabeth, but also about those victories, those Black victories and those Black pride, things that the Black community should be proud about, and also trying to do away with some of the stereotypes that exist in our communities about Black community.
Yeah. As I agree with Elizabeth, certain things should really be left out because one, they could cause a lot of the mental state for that type of situation is actually hard to bear. So certain things, but a general picture needs to be painted in a lot of people's lives. Slavery existed. It needs to be known. How it existed needs to be known. We can't just hide from the fact that, okay, it didn't happen. It happened and it's affected many lives after. And for my children well, I'm still young, so people around me needs to understand that, yes, okay, my ancestors went through this and we've reached a point where they pivot a way for us to be comfortable to living in our own skin.
Yes.
We cannot allow those type of behavior to exist now. So it's good for us that we can allow history to be repeated. And I come from I come from a place where most of the history was about slavery.
Yes.
From the Caribbean, because I come from Jamaica. So most of the history was about slavery. But when I got to Canada, I realized not many things are talked about until it was Black History Month.
Yeah.
I wondered why. And when we brought about hiding the fact that these things happen. Why would you want to hide something that's been evident in every we have so much Black people living here? You know, why would you want to hide something that's a part of their history?
Yeah.
And when you can take the time and teach us one or two things, you know, make them see that we're a part of this history. We are part of building Canada. Allow them to realize that. And yeah.
Absolutely. So then we've seen 2020 and the power of 2020 in helping us to unearth some of the hidden realities about society. And I think a powerful event is really healer for that sense. We've seen, of course, we've seen the fact, for one, that the cities is not for the poor. We've seen that Black people are affected by essentially every single thing that happens in every single aspect of life. Right? And we've seen how integral Black people are to the general survival of our planet. Frontline workers, securing our foods and doing all that. Thank you to 2020 for that. And the mass movement which transpired then, which is led by the youth after. And essentially, what we've seen come out of that is just corporations making a pledge to essentially throw money at the problem, which is the white way of doing things, throw money at problems. We've seen governments opted to throw money at problems with very little legislation being tabled to actually diminish the systematic barriers which do exist. Here in Peel region, the Toronto District School Board, there was a call to overhaul the education system. We've seen the bare minimum done, removal of a director here. We've seen the removal of streaming in the Peel region, but that's just a part of the problem, right? So should we be grateful for the money that we get with very little actual action behind it? Elizabeth, go ahead.
Yeah, I see her face. How she wants to say something.
People are always like, yeah, but just be grateful that someone is acknowledging it to a degree. But it's like, if you're not acknowledging it and actually actively trying to make a change that's positive, I don't want the
See the
acknowledgement.
point.
What's the point of it? Like, why would I go through all this energy to get excited for hopeful change and then see that it doesn't even amount to much? It's just these baby steps that realistically could have been taken long before, but now all of a sudden everyone wants to be, we'll donate proceeds to so and so funds. Thank
So
you.
is it then them trying to buy their way into some kind of like us calming down then? That's them paying
Safe
us
zone.
down.
Yeah, it's like,
Mhm.
quiet, we threw money at it, so what are you complaining about? And that's why they keep doing it, because then like folks are like, yeah, but at least they acknowledged it, at least they donated to charity, at least. It's like, okay, but is your institution still upholding systematic racism?
Mhm.
Are you allowing for the understanding that certain groups aren't afforded the same opportunities as others because of whatever systems we've created? Honestly, everything in this society is created and it's fake as far as I'm concerned. So like, let's just bend it a little, around so it works for everybody. Even the economy, for crying out loud. We saw that with
Yeah.
it's all we all created it. So like, let's dismantle it and build it up again. This system that we created way back in the day that's benefiting a certain group of people, it's not working anymore. So come on. It's
Let's start
The,
again. But of course, Mr.
the,
Harris, your thoughts.
the way I look at it, money's like water. It just comes and goes, right?
Yeah.
And once that money's done, the conversation stops. So why not, when you've given that kind of support, you build a conversation, a part of that foundation? It
Mhm.
doesn't make sense you keep on throwing money and nothing is changing. What's the effect of that? And because in the high school I used to go to, we have this thing called Pure Young Men, which is like a youth mentorship where we coach black students or people of visible minority to
Yeah.
really uplift themselves in any way, financially, mentally, school wise, academically, all the things that it takes to really be a better self.
Yes.
So, and we've got some funding, but without change, nothing's going to happen. We could just buy them food and say, have a good day.
Yeah.
That doesn't help. Where does the conversation comes in? And
Exactly.
that's where it starts.
Where does a systematic change comes in? And that's, of course, the big question. And to you at home watching, that's the thing. As the young generation here, I'm speaking, just summarizing on behalf of Mr. Lloyd and Mr. Harris here, action. Action requires the strong. Action requires those who can persist. And action requires for us each to recognize the role that we have to play in ensuring that everything around the world gets to be much better. Systems around the world change, right? What we do understand that we are living a life that's much more easier than our foreparents. We also have a responsibility to ensure that we don't fall back into, and also we move forward with that progress. So the charge from us here on the Alternative Show to you today: recognize your role in society and start actively getting involved, getting out there to vote. And it starts there too, electing persons who can effect change, putting persons in position to make actual change for us. And of course, yourself doing what is necessary of yourself and the persons around you, bringing up others around you to be a part of that fight also. So I want to just get some final thoughts here from Mr. Lloyd and Mr. Harris. I'll let Mr. Harris go first. You tend to always take the last, and then we'll go to Mr. Lloyd after.
Yes, I believe that change comes with you putting yourself out there and try to implement yourself to allow someone to change, because and it comes from sharing your opinion, sharing your ideas, sharing your thoughts. I've learned, because I was a very shy person before. I didn't think I would be able to do something like this before, but I've gotten through it, and it's really been a teaching moment for me. So with you have to really let yourself, share your opinion. You know,
Okay,
yeah.
wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Lloyd.
Thank you for sharing your opinion today. It's been a
Thank-
great opportunity to converse with you guys. But just to round up, I think that I'm hopeful for this new generation. I'm hopeful for the youth. I'm hopeful for what we are doing, because I'm youth too. What we are doing, what we want to see in this world, that we're really not taking the bare minimum anymore, and I love to see it. Energy, yes.
Absolutely. I wanted to say a big thank you to you two for passing through fantastic insights being offered, and Mr. Harris, just like this from us here. You did splendidly well. Never be afraid to use your voice. Your voice is one of the most powerful tools that you have, right? And when you represent yourself with your voice, you're representing more than just yourself. You're representing ideas, and you're representing structures, you're representing a catalyst for change. And of course, Mr. Lloyd, we'll see you back in studio. Of course. Thank you so much. And I want to thank my students here. We're still filming from home due to the fact that I was in contact with the tested positive for COVID-19. But being responsible and staying home and isolating, and of course doing what is required by Health Canada. And I encourage you to do the same. If you do have an encounter with anyone that think you might have symptoms of the COVID-19 virus, please do what is necessary. Get tested, stay home, isolate, wear your mask, do whatever they have asked you to do. Okay, just stay home and stay safe. Understand that I see the team each week for always keeping us blinging on air and for giving us stellar production, quality. I want to thank everyone for AOS Immigration Canada, who keep us so close to their hearts by their sponsorship. Don't forget to specialize in all immigration needs, ranging from permanent residency, student visa, temporary worker program, whatever it might be, they have you covered. Give them a call. It's 416-629-4617. Send them an email. It's at info@aos.immigration.canada. As I always like to say, until next time, 3 p.m. until 4 p.m., same host, me, Romain Redmond, on the same station, GBK FM. Just keep reaching, keep achieving, and of course, keep changing the world. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Happy Valentine's Day from
Download our free GBKM app from the App Store and the Google Play Store, okay? Now, what is the best thing about this app? Well, it is that you have all of the features from the website that is portable, in your hand, ready to use and ready to go. Now, I'm just gonna guide you through what we have available on our app right now. So here, this is the page where you can watch our live TV, our GBKM TV. You can watch live, enjoy the shows live. Now, if you go to our tabs, you can check out any shows you missed in the past shows tab, and that takes you to the past shows that have happened in the last week. And if you just scroll down, you can see those past shows in order, chronological order, with their dates next to them as well. So if you've missed a show, no worries, just go to the past show tab and you can catch up on your favorite GBKM entertainment. Going back to our menus tab again, you can check out our upcoming shows so you do not miss any past shows. You can check out our breaking news section, which is our newest section as well, to learn of any breaking news within the diaspora, across the globe, all of that good stuff, so you can stay engaged and up to date on what's going on with our breaking news tab on the GBKM app, and also available on the website. And as you can see, there are other tabs there. You can listen to our live radio, our live TV. You can learn more about our on-air personalities by going to our OAP tab, all of that good stuff. You can officially download